Good morning, baby. Okay. How is Norman? The fact that Karen's mouth was full gave her an excuse to delay answering. She couldn't imagine why Simon was inquiring about her ex-husband. He had been painstakingly polite to Norman on the few occasions when they had met, an unmistakable indication to anyone who knew Simon that he didn't care much for the other man. When Simon liked people, he teased them and argued with them. Norman hadn't taken to Simon either. Karen's affection for the older man had left him baffled and obscurely uneasy. He had objected vehemently to her filling the bookcases with those dirty old books. His were all lined up all neat rows, arranged by size instead of subject, with nice clean dust jackets on them, probably never read. She swallowed. All right, I guess. When will the divorce become final? It is final. I got the papers last week. You are very calm about it. My heart isn't broken, Simon. We were married for less than 3 years, and I never liked him very much. What a cynic you have become. He appeared to be genuinely shocked. A realist corrected. I fell in love. When I fell out of love, I discovered there was nothing left. Not liking, not mutual respect, not even forbearance. Do you know what his pet endearment for me was? Baby. She knew Simon would never understand why that seemingly frivolous habit of Norman's had enraged her so. His forehead furrowed as he struggled to grasp the idea. Then he shrugged it away. It's none of my business, but a young woman like yourself should not be alone. Simon, darling, you're hopelessly old-fashioned. She gave him an affectionate smile. What do you mean by alone? Unmarried or celibate? That is a vulgar question, he said severely. It is not. I phrased it very gentilely, and you were the one who brought up the subject. He returned her smile. Touché. Well, then, I certainly would not want to marry the first lout who asked you. I'm relieved to hear it. Good men are hard to find. As for being celibate, what makes you suppose I am? You are not foolhardy. In these times, only a permanent relationship, how I despise that word, is completely safe. I would know if you had established one. There are, he said delicately, certain indications. Karen gave up. She usually backed away when they got onto this subject. You're trying to start another argument. I don't provoke, Simon. Stop trying to change the subject. If you don't tell me... excuse me, I hear the bell ring. He disappeared around the bookshelf. A customer had come into the shop. Karen heard a murmur of voices and then another tinkle from the bell over the door of the shop. Simon came back, wearing a look of disgust. Some fool in search of bestsellers. The latest Stephen King he wanted, as if I would carry such a book. Ah, said Karen. So there is a type of literature you haven't read. There is no type I have not read. Stephen King? Certainly. He does what he does very well. I don't care for what he does. It is a matter of personal taste. I prefer horror to be more delicate, a frisson, a suggestion, instead of a catalogue of disgusting details. The whisper from an invisible throat, the shadow where there is no object to cast it, a sudden breath of cold air in a warm room. Don't you agree? I don't read horror stories, Karen said. The yellow wallpaper? Oh, but that isn't... Well, yes it is, but the horror is psychological. It's a brilliant study of a woman retreating into madness from... More of your feminist jargon. What does it matter if the victim is a woman being driven mad by the constraints of male-dominated society, or an unbeliever tormented by a narrow concept of religion? It isn't a question of better or worse, Karen protested. You can't compare absolute evil. All you can do is fight it whenever it manifests itself. Precisely what I was saying. The agony is the same, and the cause is the same, the rigid moral absolution that inflicts pain under the pretext of kindness. What story are you referring to? Sounds like Poe. No, I doubt you've heard of the author. The story is called The Torture of Hope. It is about a prisoner trying to escape from the cells of the Inquisition, only to find, just as he seems to reach freedom, that his captors have allowed him to hope as the ultimate torture. I read that in school. Ugh. And the worst thing about both stories is that the tormentor is not a perverted sadist. Quite the contrary. The husband and the Grand Inquisitor have noble motives. They wish to save their victims from damnation, by society or by God. Simon, I promise I won't steal your precious surprise. Please let me see it. Not just yet. First you must listen to this. Where did I put that book? Turning, he ran a finger along the shelf behind him. Karen bit her lip. Simon wasn't being deliberately sadistic either. His attitude was typical of the world from which he had come. Europe, between the wars, sophisticated, intellectual, more than a little decadent. Though he had never told her his precise age, he must have been in his teens when his native Vienna had fallen to the forces of evil, and his family and friends had vanished into death camps. The values of that vanished age, remembered by the impressionable boy, were all the more to be cherished because of the horror that had swept them away. Whatever their failings, the aristocrats and intellectuals of old Europe had realized that the delicate, deliberate prolongation of pleasure was an art to be cultivated in all aspects of life, from the enjoyment of sculpture to the appreciation of music, from dining to making love. You are flushed, Simon said, turning back to her with a book in his hand. Is it too warm? Old people have cold bones. I will lower the heat.